All right. Um, well, welcome to RCL, bro. I noticed that you are on ETH, and pretty much, if you want, just give an introduction of your project yourself. I mean, I'm not gonna sit there and I don't really care where where you're from. I like the fact that you have a solid holder count with a solid market cap. So I mean, that's impressive to me, and especially with now that we've come out of the funk, pretty much the funk. I think I really don't see where BTC would really make a big hammer back down. We're almost to April, So if you look at if you try to compare charts to 2018 to now, I think we pretty much weathered the storm, and we just won't see the run the monster run that we had between 2020 to 20 to the beginning of 2022 ever again, because of the fact that every country was printing money to the people. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So we're getting back down to what I consider crypto again, at least in my personal opinion, because being in this space since late '08 on BTC, to watch it evolve the way that it has, I think if a project can withstand things, um, especially the way you guys have, and some of the other projects that have weathered it through it, are going to be successful as we start to go back up, up the chart, as people want to call it.
yeah, for sure, man. So let me give a quick introduction, and I'd love to get right into that topic that you were just touching up on because it is pretty relevant. But for anybody who doesn't know and anybody who is listening to me for the first time, my name is Leo. I'm part of the Shibadoge team. Um, Shibadoge is a token that we launched a little over a year ago, December 24th of last year. Um, We launched it right around the peak of the bull market, I want to say. And it was pretty much at a time where there were tokens launching left and right, probably 20, 30 launches a day. I mean, I'm sure you guys remember those crazy times. But the team and myself, there's five core members. It's myself, Alex, Peter, Max. We have a fifth dev that is completely anonymous. He doesn't interact with the community or anything. Just does most of the back end work. But regardless, we started the project during those peak times, and we immediately saw a lot of success. A lot of that might have been due to the markets being in a good place, but also a lot of it had to do with the way that we presented the launch and the way that we handled everything moving forward. Um, Fast forward 6 months, 7 months, whatever, you see the bear market come in and do its thing, and 99.9% of all the projects that had launched around the same time as us, boom, vanished. They're gone. We're still here. We're still pumping forward as far as growth goes. We're growing on a consistent basis of at least about 20 to 30 holders per day, consistently every single day. And that speaks numbers to me because that means that even in a bear market, if we can allow ourselves to grow and give ourselves a avenue to move forward, then we're doing something that is catching people's attention. When we launched, we launched with like a $25,000 market cap, and within a month we were at $250 million in market cap. So that goes to show you it's a true testament of marketing, of being able to have leadership behind the project and being able to actually deliver on the things that you say you're going to deliver on, especially in the crypto space where there's a lot of smoke and mirrors and a lot of bad actors. Um, you're not going to last if you're one of those people. But if you are a good person, if you are a person who's actually building for Web3 and you actually have a vision for Web3 and found success in Web3, like myself and my team members, also good to mention for anybody who doesn't know, pretty much the core team, we're all pretty big whales in both Dogecoin and Shiba. That's where we found our successes. That's where we made a lot of our money, if not all of our money. I mean, any other money I've made in my life is minuscule compared to the amount that I've made just on Shiba alone. So what we wanted to do is we knew that crypto can change people's lives, right? Whether it's financially, whether it's mentally, whether it's just, being a part of a community, whatever the case is. We knew that there is a positive impact on people's lives through crypto. And we were like, hey, let's try to build a legacy here for ourselves. Let's try to bring something to the table that isn't already there. Let's try to bridge the gap between Doge and Shiba is what we started trying to bridge the gap between, hence the name Shibadoge. But then we very quickly realized that, hey, we shouldn't just focus on Dogecoin and Shiba. We can actually kind of, direct our focus to the entire crypto market, because there are a lot of people out there who get wrecked by just, buying into projects that are ran by shady people. They get rugged, they get lied to, they get harassed in chat groups or whatever. We wanted to be a safe haven. We wanted to be the complete opposite of all the negativity in the crypto world. So we worked very hard to build a solid team of admins, a solid team of OG members and whatnot, to pretty much curate our community to a way where we knew that it can be successful. Because keep in mind, prior to even getting into Web3 and running Web3 businesses, we've ran a lot of very successful Web2 businesses and have done a lot of very successful community building exercises in the past. So that's something we knew that we're good at. That's something that we knew that we can actually manage and something we can handle. So we took our expertise from that end and kind of implemented it into what we're doing here. And the Shibadoge ecosystem was born. We now have the Shibadoge token, which hit 250 million market cap at its all-time high. We have the Burn token, which is a part of the ecosystem, which was one of the most hyped launches of all of last year. I believe we had like 3,000 people in a Telegram voice call waiting for over 48 hours for the launch to come out. We have our NFT ecosystem, which consists of the Doge Army and Shiba Army NFTs, and there's a whole gamification to it where you guys can actually deploy those NFTs into the war zone that we call it, and you start accumulating, tokens as rewards. And the next big thing we got coming out this month, it's actually coming out in 10 days, is a wearable system for our NFTs, which is something that hasn't been done before in the space. There are some projects that are starting to talk about wanting to do it now, but we actually have it up and running and working currently as of right now. A couple of days ago, we launched our breeding system, which allows you to breed both of your NFT pairs and create a newer NFT, which you can customize. And this customization is going to lead to a lot of cool things in the future, which we could get into. But that's just a broad, rough introduction of what we do and who I am. And where did we leave off, Rudes? Because I did say I wanted to circle back to something.
I'm going to get into. I'm going to dig into some of my questions.
Yeah.
First of all, have you guys I've looked at the contract. What compiler version did you guys launch it on? And have you guys, has your backend dev stayed up to date with correcting any of the minor error counts from, as the project goes along, you always want to stay up to date on that. You can't just,
for sure, man.
So what is your most recent compiler version of your contract, if you know?
I don't know off the top of my head. I can do a quick search in my notes and tell you, though. I'm not a Solidity developer myself. We have a team of developers on payroll that actually do all that for us. But I can assure you that we do have some of the best developers in the space that we've actually worked with. We've interviewed a pretty large amount of people when we were actually starting to build this thing out. As far as the Shibadoge contract goes, it is a Solidity contract. Like you said, that was compiled and it's there on the blockchain. That is not an upgradable smart contract. That's something that's there. It's already in place. But the cool thing is the new contract that we have coming out for the wearables and the equipables, which is already out, actually, and you can take a look at it. It's a, I want to say, one of a kind. Like nothing like that really exists. The code is very, very unique, and it's an upgradable smart contract where it's not locked into anything on Solidity forever, right? So if we ever want to go in there and kind of like make improvements, run updates, change things up, draw a whole new dynamic, whatever, we could do that at any point. The reason we didn't do that with the token contract is because we were very, very, it's very important to us to be in a sense decentralized, and we don't want to have the ability to go in there and change the whole dynamic of the token because it was launched on very specific terms and tokenomics and for a very specific reason. So as long as the blockchain is intact, those tokenomics will be intact. We have something that we call the 888-year vision, which we have a Medium article on, and that kind of entails, how we expect the longevity of our token to thrive.
Okay, I noticed you guys have a burn. You guys do have a burn within the contract. Have Let me ask you this: what was your total supply that you guys started off with?
It was 426 trillion was the total supply.
Okay, and what is the percentile of that you burn to date?
54% of that has been burned to date.
And exchanges, what exchanges are you listed on at this point?
We're listed on, I believe, 10 different exchanges. Let me pull up the list. Give me half a second here. Okay, so obviously we're on Uniswap, which is decentralized. And then for our centralized exchanges, we have Hotbit, Bitmart, XT, LBank, DigiFinex, BKEX, AAX, IndoX, and P2B. And I believe those are all of the current exchanges that we're listed on.
Gotcha. Now, who's running your market making? Which one of those run your market makers for your project?
We have a dedicated team for that.
Okay.
So
just wanted to make sure. So you guys have crossed all the T's and dotted your I's on the east side as far as what makes a project successful. And you're right. I haven't seen any other NFT of all the NFT collections throughout all the blockchains that I own, other than the Adidas line, that have done any article clothing for the NFT side of it. So, with that being said, how are you guys protecting the intellectual property for yourselves of the artwork for your community?
So the intellectual property, obviously, everything is under Shibadoge Labs, but we do offer the owner of the NFT all rights to the IP itself. So if you're just like most of the bigger NFT projects that do it, we operate the same way. So it's like, for example, Yuga Labs, they have the Bored Apes. If you own a Bored Ape, you own the IP to that ape. You could go and start a let's say a juice company and
right. I could do anything with it, including with my CryptoPunk. Yeah,
exactly, including with your CryptoPunk. Yeah, so it's the same way, same aspect.
Gotcha. Okay. So with that being said, because I mean I was a hefty whale in Shib too, so I'm still in their Discord. I mean it's always crazy in there. So, how has that community embraced your guys' project over here?
So we thought it was going to be a lot easier. I'm not going to lie to you. We thought it would be a lot easier to kind of get everybody on board. But what we did notice, and this was part of the reason why we even started this to begin with, is because it like if you were a Shiba holder, that any other token is completely irrelevant. You don't want to hear about it.
I know, man. I remember how those, how toxic it could get.
Exactly. So that's what kind of pushed me and my friends and my team away from those communities, is because we would go in there and it'd be toxic. Yeah, we were making money. Yeah, I mean, we made millions and millions of dollars, but you'd go in there and you'd immediately be like, okay, I don't want to spend more than 20 seconds in this chat. It's just the most annoying thing ever. So, when we started Shibadoge, we were like, okay, let's bridge this gap. Let's make it so that these people aren't only interested just in Shiba and actually try to get the whole gist of what Web3 is about, and kind of get them to be friends with the Dogecoin people communities, try to get them to be friends with a bunch of other DeFi communities. And we thought it would have been easy because we had a good narrative, but believe it or not, we were able to kind of penetrate a lot of other communities with that narrative. And it was harder for us to penetrate the Shiba community with that narrative. That doesn't mean it didn't work, it just didn't work to the scale that we wanted it to in the time period we wanted it to, which is actually kind of good because we learned a lot about ourselves, and we learned a lot about other communities in the same time period of trying to achieve that goal, right? So, I mean, that's still one of the top goals, is to actually kind of get the Shiba community and the Dogecoin community to kind of unite and be one. Because at the end of the day, if they do that, it's good for everybody.
You know it's never going to happen because Ryoshi is from
Yeah,
Japan, and you have you have Billy and Jackson Palmer there from the United States. And I think you got a better chance of getting the Doge community because they're more embraceful. You know,
yeah,
they're actually civilized, and I've noticed that because I have Doge Army, and those guys all follow me on my private account or on my personal account here on Twitter and stuff like that. And you know, I've noticed that a lot. What they didn't understand was when we all got in at the start of Shib, it wasn't like that. Everybody got along. Everybody talked. We set up the private
hmm,
groups correctly. Everybody was an adult investor, and it wasn't until the Elon community basically got on board did it become a real toxic environment at sometimes. I mean, you can't even mention something in there sometimes. It's like going into the Board Yet Apes Discord, right? Because I have four of those, and
right,
watching those, when they launched their land last year, and we can go claim it, right? I'm watching people get
yep,
wrecked, and you try to say something about another project, man, and people you get muted. I'm like, oh come on, man, this is just not cool. But no, and I feel for you, man, because I know. Especially from watching that community grow on Telegram over to Discord, and just how crazy it got, and
yeah,
but what they don't get is that shit sat what at the floorboards for a minute for all of us that were in it.
yeah. I'm
It,
telling you, man.
it,
I've told our community too. I've bought tens of thousands of dollars worth of sheep at one point, and then I looked at my wallet a few weeks later, and it was worth like hundreds of dollars, right? So it's not like it just popped off immediately off the bat. Like I got wrecked on
yeah. No
Shiba
doubt,
very
because
early. Yeah,
my private group we did $11,000 each. And I'm looking at my wall. I'm
right.
going, man, are you sure we should stay in this? I'm at one point going, yo, we're hurting pretty bad. I'm down like 62% at one point. And they're like, oh, man, don't worry about it. The team's there. They're talking. Da, da, da. So fine. But I mean, I get it. And, what's crazy is I think that you guys have something that's unique. It's going to set you guys apart. And I think that if anybody's learned anything in this bear market, it is partnerships and collabs really help projects be sustainable. How have you guys done that?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the last part of that question. Can you repeat that
I
one more
said
time, please?
projects have started working together during the bear market last year, if you
Right,
noticed. Have you guys
right.
done any type of collab or any partnerships like that with other projects, like maybe cross chain over on ABEX or anything like that?
Okay, funny you ask. And that's something that we actually wanted to focus on. And we were like under the impression that that's the way to go and that's the way to grow. But what we realized when the bear market came around and kind of started really shaking the trees is we found that, all these projects that are here, saying one thing today are gone tomorrow. So we didn't really want to put ourselves in the position where we're like partnering with these people and then fast forward a couple months and it comes back to bite us in the ass. We know that there is a opportunity in the scenarios of doing that, but we kind of like we kind of strayed away from doing partnerships just mainly because we're able to kind of fund everything that we want to do anyway. Secondly, we have a pretty good strategy as far as how to like growth hack strategies, right? And I feel like it's better when it's organic. It's much better when it's organic, and um, that's the main reason why we haven't done any like major collabs. We've done one collaboration with a project called Shinja. I'm sure you might have heard of it. This was back a few months back where we did an event where we tied a statue of Elon Musk to a weather balloon and shipped it out of orbit, into space. And we did that with them. They were the only people we actually kind of like partnered to do something like that with. And we also donated in that same time $50,000 to a pediatric children's hospital for cancer. But look, fast forward to today, and the Shinja project is in a very bad place to a point where we were in there having an AMA like yesterday and the week before, trying to acquire the thing to kind of save them in a sense, you know. So that's why we don't really put ourselves in positions with any
Right.
projects, because we don't know what they're going to do at the end of it, and we don't want a bad stigma to be put on our name for that.
No, and I understand that, and I truly do. And you know, that's why I attach everything with a DYOR, non-financial advice, to anybody, because
Yep.
I know how ETH can be, and ETH has always been a slow organic growth point, and you know, but then you go to BSC, man, and it's just like it's a fucking train wreck. It really is.
Yeah, it's a shit show out there. I'm not gonna lie, but there are some good projects in BSC. I can't hate on everybody there, and the reason why I like BSC is because firstly, it's a whole different dynamic of people that are in BSC. So the
Bro,
people who buy
bro, hold
projects
on,
on
hold
ETH,
on. I
yeah, go ahead.
lost $112,000 off of my investments from, you know, because I try to do it like ahead of time. So I invested for 2022 in December, right, of 2021
Hmm.
projects. The devs have all taken off. One of them was DT6, Billy and that crew from
Right.
Mini Doge. You know, I lost 55 grand on his project, bro. And you know what his excuse to me was?
What?
We're in a bear market. I'll see you when it comes back. I'm just like, dude, my money. You know, and he considers me an influencer, so he branded me that. So I was locked in for 365 days.
Oh my God. Yeah, see, we don't do anything like that, and we don't lock any. We don't believe in locking people into anything. Like, and we feel like, you know, this is DeFi, it's decentralized. Why would anybody be willingly locked into something? That just doesn't make any
Well,
sense to me.
if you take a look at some of these successful projects like Victoria VR, right?
Right.
They're terrible at AMAs, but that project went parabolic. What it hit close to 4 billion at one point, and they were doing vesting periods for private investors. You know, they would release X amount of tokens per, I think, every 3 months for you
Right.
on vesting points. You know, and something like that, I wouldn't mind it. But you know, they had a good clear roadmap, and some of the guys were already working for the companies that they were tying themselves to, and I get it. So I think something like that would be cool. But I get what you're saying too on the decentralized side. Um, so that brings me to my next question for you. You have a community-based DAO. Is that for the? Do you guys have a voting system in place?
So it's more or less when we released the DAO, it was more or less an experiment to try to see if it can actually be something that's sustained in the community. Because this is a community ran project at the end of the day. Obviously, we're the leaders of the community, but the community has a say in everything that happens. You know, if the community doesn't want something, we're not going to just be like, oh, too bad, you got to have it anyway. So the DAO was put in there to kind of, you know, be a way for community members to suggest ideas and to suggest things that they want to see happen in the project. And then other community members can vote on, you know, those proposals. And, you know, if it was something that was groundbreaking and game changing and the vote passed, then we'd actually fund the development of those ideas. But it wasn't adopted and used as you know, as well as we thought it would be. So it's still a work in progress where, you know, we're going to have to go back to the drawing board and see what other options there are to kind of like get this thing to be a little more mainstream and actually work in a more provocative way where, you know, everyone can see a benefit out of it. But I feel like the DAOs and stuff, man, it's such a niche market for it where, you know, a lot of projects have them, but like 99% of the community doesn't even use it. So, and
You
we
know
saw the same case.
what? Yeah, but you got to remember, a DAO stands for decentralized anonymous operation.
Right.
That's a huge spectrum right there. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people don't even understand one or even all three of those words. Let's be real.
Yeah, no, for sure.
You know,
For
and
sure.
it's crazy because everybody, you know, when everybody starts, to me, I like what you guys got. Okay, I like what you guys have. I think if you would just clean up maybe the website just a little bit, the front end, I think that would pique more interest. That's just my personal opinion. You can tell me fuck myself. You know, opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one.
No, man, no, definitely. You have a good point, and that's what we've been slowly doing. If you, I don't know if you have a time machine, but if you could have seen our website like 3 months ago, it was completely different. So we are slowly updating the website almost every week at this point. Our front end is a lot different than what it was before, but we can actually try to see if we can implement a voting system into the website in the future. But
Well, remember
do
this
you?
also.
Yeah, go ahead.
Most people that run, will say, for instance, an EVM blockchain, even a
Okay.
regular blockchain, they everything is a governance. When ETH, BTC, we all had a voting structure in place, right?
Right.
And with that, typically what came out of it was people that were actually good bag holders that believed in crypto took it upon themselves to then go build a D app, worked with the dev teams, onboarded the D app themselves, and built a team around their own voting structure that tied back into your guys' your back end contract, and that's how we have all these numerous apps today.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I like to think of our website as a D app in itself. It's pretty much it acts as a holder resource where we have 30 to 50,000 people who visit the site on a monthly basis. And if I don't know how deep you got into the site and if you look through all of the features that it's got to offer, but it has a lot more information than you could find on, like, let's say if you're going into Dextools trying to do your own research on our project and in the circulating supply or in the transactions or in the NFTs or whatever, it just got everything that a holder would want to look for, and everything that they have questions about is detailed and put on the website in such an easy way for even newbies in the space can understand. So it is something that we are updating constantly, as we get new ideas and as we get new visions for how we want things to operate on the website and what we want displayed on the website. That is something that we will continuously support and update as time goes on.
Right. And I mean, it's almost like you can build a whole ecosystem off of what you guys are structurally trying to do, just alone on the NFT side. And
Yep.
I'm just saying, a lot of people don't. I don't give this advice to many projects that I do AMAs with, but you're an ETH project, so build it like how we built out the layer two for ETH. Think about it logically, because it wasn't. Look what the one dev that was part of the ETH, who's now who owns Polkadot and things like that. And look at Charles from Cardano. Look at how they did it. They all had their own DApps at one point in time for ETH, for the
Right.
governance, for the community DAO is what you guys call it, and that was what it was called back then too. It was a governance point where you could actually the community could turn it into a full structure. I mean, you have the holder count to do something like this, and to me, it's building out the community and engaging more people and showing them that, look, crypto is not as bad as people think. Look, you can come in if you own this amount, you can have a vote. We vote on things for build outs, for building out the ecosystem, for just a loan. Because you are a layer two,
Right.
anything that launches. So I mean, you could do so many things with just a smart contract compared to what you can do with an algorithm. And I think that with you guys have sustainability, maybe have some of the community members, instead of sitting there just be bag holders. Yo, man, if you guys made some good money off of it, start entertaining your own entrepreneurship and building out and helping us build.
No, exactly. I agree with you, man. And I do believe there is a lot of power in DAOs. Do you remember how the word DAO even got popular? Because I remember exactly the time and day and post that made that whole thing pop off.
Bro, I remember on Reddit there was a DAO thing back in 2014, some shit like that. It didn't catch on. Um, so no, I really don't. I'm not gonna lie to you.
It's cool. The thing that literally, so this space is like wildfire, right? They find something trending and then boom, all of a sudden there's like a million of them everywhere, right? There was this one article that came out. It was all over Instagram. It was all over Twitter. It said a DAO group has joined forces together and they're trying to buy a piece of the Declaration of Independence or something like that for something like 70 million or 80 million dollars. I can't remember the number exactly, but it was a lot of money. And everyone was like, what the hell is a DAO and how the hell are they raising $70 million to buy a piece of the Declaration of Independence where the next person in line who was bidding was like some bank and who knows where, right? So they're like, how are this group of people on Web3 competing with a bank on bidding to try to buy a piece of the Declaration of Independence? And then I kid you not, I refresh Twitter and there's all these DAO projects launching left and right, and they're all pumping like crazy, and they're all, I'm joining their Telegram, see what's going on, this, that, and everyone's so bullish. They're like, oh, we have the best DAO in the world, we have the best DAO, blah blah blah, and then boom, all of a sudden it's like saturated. No one cares about DAOs. But what what you're saying makes so much sense because it is extremely important for people. Look, in Web3, it's hard for people to have a voice if there is no way to express your vote, right? Which we see that happen in our project too, where people come back like 3 months later and be like, hey, I recommended to you guys to do this idea. Have you guys, put some thought into it or whatever? And then maybe it's a bad idea, right? And we kind of like brushed it away to the side. Uh, or maybe it's a good idea and we just haven't had time to get to it yet. So I do feel like DAOs have a very, very strong place in this ecosystem, but there needs to be more thought behind it, as to like how we're going to get more people to use it, because we have one in place and we have 30,000 holders and we actually spent a lot of time marketing it when we launched it, and not even like 1% of the community kind of like adapted over to using the DAO.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. If you're gonna do it, go full hearted. You know, you guys have a good website. Attach a fifth page to it for the forum. Because if you look at it, look at how compare what the United States does. Compare it to what Japan and China do. Those guys get behind a voting structure. We over here are just loose cannons. But remember this: the old verbiage is, if you lead it forth, thou shalt follow, right?
Yeah.
And that's all you guys have to do. The community, to me, I've seen so much I've seen so many projects that don't have the engagement that you guys have. You guys have solid investors in there. And to me, what better way to make the investor be part of, well, the community as a whole? Hey man, instead of sitting there being a day trader all the time, why not take it and become your own entrepreneur and be creative? It doesn't cost really that much. The amount of money that we play with in this space is astronomical, considering the fact that I started mining BTC with $0. I had to have hard drive space for my first ever hot wallet for BTC, right?
Right.
For the qubit. And to fast forward to today with what we have, like you said earlier, I'm bouncing around a little bit, but like you said, people catch on and it just runs like wildfire. Remember this: Web3's been out since 2014 and just got caught on last year. These
Right.
these that's how far we're behind we are on certain things. And to me, if you, with you guys having this type of engagement with the community, man, take it full fruition, man. Do something, because come on, man. We were both part of SHIB from the rip. We seen what our roadmap was. We laughed at it. But you fast forward to today, it's taken them how many years to produce what they were trying to say they were going to produce in 2020 and
Yeah, exactly.
2021. So they still haven't even produced it. I mean, it took them ages just to get a front end chart built. When
Yeah.
actually, if you have a good Solidity dev, they could build that out in a matter of 2 days, code wise.
Yeah, and look, a lot of it comes down to where you are in the space too, and numbers is everything, right? Like you said, Shib didn't have a working product until very recently, but it's been around for years. Now what we're seeing is we're seeing people come out with working products, but they don't have a community or they don't have anything to kind of back it, and then you
Exactly.
see all that good waste, all that go to waste, right? All that work go to waste, which is it happens, right? It happens. Not everybody has all of what it takes to run a successful project. Like if everybody had what it takes, then what,
Right.
it just wouldn't work.
Well, no, they don't have to have it. Remember this: you guys have the successful project. All you're going to do is ask your investors is to become part of their own project, which would be to help out. Because I mean, there's been so many people. I've watched so many people, so many of my friends that through the years in crypto have helped and built out their own D apps and got them improved. Didn't realize how easy it was to go through the correct channels just to get it
Yeah,
done and very minimal cost. And they're working wallets on on you know the latest I'm going to compare will be Terra Luna, for instance. That entire
right.
governance structure, their voting structure, is on point. They don't have they pushed everything over to the forum, to their website, and they people several people have branched off and built out, but yet the community had to vote to approve that project. The DApps
Yeah,
or something like that.
yeah,
You know, and especially with what you guys are trying to do, with your NFTs, someone can make a wallet for the NFT side of it.
yeah. And I mean, like it's cool to get the community involved in helping as far as the building goes, but it's kind of different for the type of community that we have right now, and I'll tell you why. The target community of people that we're actually like building and bringing on board right now, or not just the target, but the people that we're getting, are people who are new to the space of crypto, right? When they're doing their DD, they find let's say 100 projects, and then they'll kind of use the process of elimination, be like, I don't want this one, I don't want that one, this one's too intimidating, that one's like I can't understand a thing about it, and then they tunnel vision into Shibadoge, and they're like, hey, I know what Shiba is, hey, I know what Doge is, hey, these guys are cool, the community's cool, but I don't know anything about Web3, and then they come and they spend 5 minutes in our chat, and then everybody starts helping them out, and everybody starts being friendly and teaching them the ropes in Web3, and you have a new family member in what we call it, right? So a lot of the people in our project, not all of them, we have some pretty experienced people who are part of the community, but the majority of the people in our community are, Shibadoge might be their first ever token or their first ever venture in Web3. So that's one of the things that we're proud of, is to actually like be a stepping stone to be able to bring people into DeFi and Web3, because of how how we curate the project and how we like move the community forward in a way where it's like, hey, we want to be that welcoming mat for people to actually like take the leap, because Web3 can be intimidating. I remember the first time I tried to make a Web3 transaction, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And I can imagine people who are not tech savvy at all or have never done it before, they're running into that same issue that I was years ago. But regardless, we spend a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of resources on bringing on board the best talent that we can afford to bring on board to actually build these things out. So I feel like we will get to that point eventually that you're talking about, where we're like, hey, let's have the community build something crazy at this point. But we're not there just yet. Right now, I feel like, yes, it is a community project, but what we're doing is we're actually kind of funding the core development and the core vision of what we want to see come out of the project at the end product, because we're also at the same time building a brand, not just a Web3 community. Shibadoge is going to be a brand, and when you're building a brand, you really want to pick and choose what's there and what's not, because there are some things that are marketable, some things that are not marketable, and some things that'll just completely get you canceled off the face of the earth, right? So what we're doing right now is we're laying the foundation, and once that foundation is laid out, the community will step in and help build a city out of it, right? And we feel like as if we're in a pretty solid state and a pretty nice place right now to continue building on that foundation, considering we survived the bear market. Not only did we survive, we thrived in the bear market. We grew in the bear market. We helped a lot of people overcome the bear market, and it's just circling back to what you said in the beginning of the Twitter Spaces. You said, I don't think we'll see that crazy run up that we saw between 2018 and 2021. I I don't think that's necessarily true. I do think we're going to see something crazy like that again. And I think that can only happen based off one scenario, and that one scenario is a financial crisis in pretty much Web 2, right? We saw Silicon Valley Bank had a shitstorm happen, they got bailed out. But during that process, we saw Bitcoin pump like 20%, literally in like 3 hours overnight, just based off of the news that your money is not safe in the bank, right? So I do think there's still a lot of opportunity in Web3 and crypto, and I do still think it's for anybody who's involved right now or thinking of getting involved, you're still extremely early.
Well, yeah, because if you think about it logically, the what we do 9 times out of 10, it's real simple. Like what I'll do is if I've always hit a decent play once a year in this space, and instead of taking it to a centralized exchange, you meet friends along the way through this space, and they give you connections. And there's people in Canada that will sell you gold, minerals, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
in exchange for cryptocurrency. You switch it over. So, what's the old investment is minerals. In my personal opinion, it's not going to be in stocks and bonds, because you're investing in a flawed system, and we know that. And
Right.
if it wasn't flawed, they wouldn't be in this space. And so the biggest thing that scares me about if we do have a monster run up like that is how much of the centralized community or the centralized governments are going to be the ones doing that push. To me, I want to see larger build out from more people as a
Right.
whole, not the suits coming through here and taking it and fucking over the little person, because
Yeah,
no
I
matter
know, I
if
know.
it's
But
no.
that's probably what's going to happen, though, man. It's not that they're going to come in and start fucking over the little person. I don't think that's the case. I mean, that a lot of people might feel like that, and it might even be the case. But it's going to be to a point where they're like, okay, so we're like 10 years into crypto, for example, at this point, probably longer. But anyway, it's still not regulated, and there's a reason why it's not regulated is because people are still like trying to figure this shit out. But at the end of it, it's undeniable that it's there. It works. It's a better system than any other financial system that's in place in the world. You can't deny it. But regulation is going to at one point happen. And when that regulation does happen, that opens the door for these $1 million, $1 trillion, $1 billion companies to come in and start investing their money into crypto and holding it in a way that's actually recognized by governments. So that's what's going to give crypto the next big, like, insane
Right.
push forward. But a lot of people in this space and a lot of people who are advocates of crypto, they don't want to see that happen. Whether you want to see it happen or not, I mean, I think we're headed in that direction
They've
no
been
matter
here.
what.
Let's be real.
Yeah,
They've been in this space since 2012, and
yeah,
and Docker made that relevant last year when they opened up their doors and showed everybody who's on their server.
right,
Who's holding containers there. But not only that, we knew about it. And my biggest thing is, it's not that I don't care if their money comes in. I think what most people, if you take a look at, we'll take FTX for an example. If you're in part of a private whale group, any part of this space, and you've done investments in this space for years, your group gets looked up. FTX didn't do that. You know what I'm saying? We
Yeah.
knew that that was going to the suits. And look at the failure that happened there. Look at the debacle. They fractionalized everything. And if you compare it to like Kraken or something like that, where they built out correctly, because they were miners at first, so
Right.
they had they had their liquidity, or they had their assets to house what they're going to be doing. That's why they've been the longest running exchange in crypto. Um, you know, but it's you don't want. To me, I feel like they're going to play that game of, well, they're going to launch a project, they're going to bring in their people, and there's no chance for people to actually get it. Whereas if we keep it decentralized in a term, where like you said, you guys are getting the first newcomers, right? For instance, they have a chance to actually watch this thing run again for you.
Yeah.
Look at like Aptos, for instance. I got in on that privately. No offense to anybody, but if I was just an average investor, you didn't hear shit about Aptos. We all know this. You know,
No, that's true. Yeah. Well, that's the thing, like then and those alpha groups that those groups are built off of people like who have track records. I'm not in any alpha groups. I could care less. I've made enough money in sheep where I don't even look at plays left and right because I'm like, that's not my. I'm not into that anymore. What I'm into is trying to like build something for other people at this point. But there was a point in time where I was in those alpha groups, and the call outs that were coming out from those groups, everybody was winning. You know why they were winning is because they were actually all doing it together. And it goes back to what I was saying is like you got power in numbers. If you can bring enough people to something, you can be that group. You can be that alpha group. You can move mountains with enough people.
okay. So
And
that leads me to my next question, then, Leo.
yep.
How do we get your brand out there?
Well, that's what we're doing right now, and that's why we're super laser focused and dialed in into the next step of what we're trying to achieve, and that's actually to focus heavily on a media aspect for our brand, turn Shibadoge into a household name in a sense, and we're going to be doing that in a bunch of different ways. A lot of what we're going to be focusing on is a storyline. We have a comic book that's releasing. Um, Past the comic book, there are some other things that we're working out in the back end for different media options like videos and animated series and things of that nature.
How many how
But
many how many how many YouTube callers have you guys made off your project so far?
how many YouTube what? I'm sorry.
How many YouTube callers have you guys made off your project so far that started in on this project and said they're going to make a YouTube video about, look, my very first investment was Shiba Doge, and this is where I started at, and this is where we're at, this is where it went, this is where we're at now.
Yeah, I mean, probably hundreds of people who have just done it voluntarily on their own. I mean, we've only worked with,
Nice.
yeah, a few YouTubers when we first launched to kind of just spread the word of what we are and just host AMAs with us. But we never like paid any YouTubers to do anything further than that, right? All,
Right.
all
No,
we
that's
paid
what I'm
YouTubers
saying.
for was,
How
yeah,
many people of the community have just went out there and said, you know what, I made good money from this project.
yeah, probably hundreds.
I'm
There's
going to
there's
brag
even
about it.
call channels. Yeah, there's call channels on Telegram that I follow that we're still their biggest win on Telegram, right? And they're like, oh, we're the guys who called out the 1000x from Shiba Doge or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, there has been a lot of people who are adding those wins to their track
Right.
to
And
their
I
track
know you
record.
don't want to be known as just a meme token, and I get that. And that's where I think the NFT side. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna fast forward now to the NFT side. What benefit do I have as an investor to hold your NFT? Is there any
Okay.
royalties attached to it? Can I
Yeah, for
stake
sure.
it?
So we don't like to use the word staking. What we have is we have something that we call the war zone. And the war zone is where you can actually deploy your NFTs to um, accumulate rewards in the form of Shiba Doge and the burn token, and more tokens that are going to be coming to the ecosystem, down the line in the future. And those are pretty healthy numbers. And these seasons they last anywhere from 3 to 5 months at a time, and then there's an intermission in between. As right now, we just finished season 2 a couple of months back, and season 3 is about to start in probably less than a month or so. But regardless, season 3 is coming up, and each season there's something new that's added to the war zone, and different benefits that holders that participate will get. Um, for now, it's token accumulations, which do add up to pretty significant amounts of tokens. But there will be more things that are going to be implemented moving forward. We're going to try to gamify this as much as we can to kind of introduce more interaction to the NFTs. We have something that we're coming out with called the Armory, and the Armory is going to be something where the NFT holders for Shibadoge Bread NFTs can go in and claim free equipable dynamic NFTs every week based on what rank NFT they own, right? So if you go in there and claim something for free and then somebody 2 weeks later wants to pay you for it, then cool, you just won, right? Or maybe you don't want to sell it and you want to keep holding on to it. So we're building something where people are continuously going to be interacting with their NFTs, customizing their NFTs, getting free stuff. Ideally, hopefully, in an ideal world, selling those free stuff, because we want to create like a market for this type of stuff too. But realistically, I think with our NFTs, you kind of have just a stake in Shibadoge, right? You own a piece of Shibadoge just by owning a NFT. And I feel like as the company grows and as the company becomes more successful, then your NFTs will grow with the company as well.
Can I purchase this on OpenSea?
Yeah, we're on OpenSea. We're on pretty much every NFT marketplace out there. It's called the Doge Army and the Shiba Army NFTs.
Okay.
Hey, Rude, I have a question about the NFTs.
Go ahead.
So I remember when you launched originally, and I was actually one of those people in that big Twitter space that you had.
Yep.
There used to be a chart that was posted in your group about the NFTs and how much you would make staking those NFTs. Do you still have that available?
Yeah, if you join our Discord or Telegram, we can post it in there. We haven't released the numbers yet for season 3 just yet, but they will be pretty similar to what was given in season 2. So I'd be more than happy to share that with you.
Okay, great. And then also, I know you have the staking on the NFTs. Are you going to have staking on the tokens too?
No. We're trying to stay away from the word staking and just staking in general, just because like we don't know exactly what kind of stigma is attached to that. So what we're doing is we're
what are you talking
more like
about? Come on, dog.
Yeah.
I've made a living off of farming and staking. Well, no, you're right, Leo. You're right. On each side, staking is not feasible.
Yeah.
Farming is, though, when you pair it with, well, I don't know. USDC just got on peg almost. So, I mean, I'm trying to think about that one right now.
Yeah.
In years past,
man, it's
in years past,
it's different. What we do is different, man. Think of it like if you own our NFT, you can participate in our game, and participating in our game.
I think the branding.
I think,
like you said, branding, the clothing line, sweatshirts, hoodies, shit like that, T-shirts, hats,
Yep.
coffee cups. That goes a long way.
So we have this idea. Where how like we have a customizable NFTs, right? Where you could go and buy for example, let's say you could buy a hat for your NFT. Eventually, that hat that you buy for your NFT or claim for your NFT, you'd be able to get that same hat from our merch store for yourself. So, those digital objects and pieces of clothing that exist in the metaverse or on your NFT that you love so much, you're going to be able to get them for yourself in real life too. So that's just one of the cooler things of kind of like making your NFTs more tangible with a real life item.
No, and I agree. I mean, I see what you're saying. I see what you're trying to go with here. I know you've asked behind Miss JH, about some of the people that I know. I'm going to point you in a direction to where your project deserves to be as far as people. I think you need to speak with like CryptoZen over on Discord. They were the original guys. They've been in this space for a while too, but they're best known for creating the Safe Moon Discord, and then they fell out with them, but they kept the Discord. They have a good, huge following, and but they're happy-go-lucky people, and they don't they don't paper hand, bro. They if they like you, they stay on board. I don't want to point you into early 20s person kids lounge. I'm 50, by the way, so I'm just gonna let you know. I'm not gonna point you in a direction where people are just gonna come in and cheat it for the chart.
Right.
You know, I'd rather get you in contact with people that have sustainability, that do quality AMAs aside from mine, that actually stay with the project and have marketing guys there that know how to centralize you out correctly. You know, and possibly and give you better tips than I could give you, honestly, for growth. And they've done very well. I mean, they helped build out. What was it? They helped build out that once. They helped build out Victoria VR was one of them, but that one I can't even think about it now. It made it all the way up to crypto.com, or made it all the way up into UFC. They had a banner on UFC's cage at one point in time.
Right.
But
yeah, man. I mean, I love that. I love that. Like, I mean, this is what it's all about for me in Web3: is just meeting new people, talking to new people, getting introduced to people who are making big moves in the space. Because great minds think alike, and you never know. You never know what can happen through a new interaction with somebody. And
yeah,
I'm always open to it, and as you can tell, I love talking. And
yeah, but I just don't. I get the sensibility. Leo, you're a smart investor first and foremost, and then you become a project owner. So you still we will always have that degen tendencies. Don't get me wrong, even if
right,
you don't want them. But I don't think I don't. I'm gonna be real with you. A lot of these communities, like a lot of these influencers, it's not a knock against them. I like them. I've been in fences. Like I used to dislike Travel Lad. I'm not gonna lie to you. I called that kid out for some of the stupid shit that he did in this space. Okay, I mean, he didn't know it and he learned it, and we mended our fences with each other, and we're friends now. But
right.
I just don't. He doesn't have the community that's ETH. They're
No, I
BSC.
got you.
They're
Yeah,
BSC.
they're BSC,
Yeah, they're
BSC
BSC.
degens.
And you have an ETH project, a real ETH project, and I'd rather see point you in the right direction where where people play with ETH. And there's a couple of groups in Telegram that I'm gonna forward to Miss JH for you and things like that. And I'll also get you a hold of Josh from CryptoZen out of Discord. Huge following. I mean, that community is active all the time.
Perfect, man. I'd love that. I'd love that.
Yeah, and in fact, they support a lot of the projects like I support. I don't know if you ever heard of WAGMI Games, but WAGMI, which just now announced, they just announced today that they got the CEO, their chief operating officer is was the second chair in EA Sports. So I mean, they helped those guys out. So I mean, I think you got a great, like I said, I like your NFTs. The only thing that scares me, I'm not gonna lie to you, I, I get scared of burns, because of supply. And I get it. You guys started off with a lot, but
Right.
it's still just scary. The burn just scares me because I've watched so many
So
contracts in the past. Go ahead.
yeah. Let me explain how our burn even works to begin with. It's not your traditional style of burn that everybody else kind of does. Um, so the way that our tokenomics are set up is that users get 5% reflections every time a transaction happens, right? So 5% of that transaction pretty much gets sent across the entire user base. Now, the burn wallet is a holder on chain. So the contract recognizes the burn wallet as a user, the dead wallet as a user. So when it's sending those reflections out to the entire community base, it also throws a little piece to the dead wallet as well. So it's not like a super hyper um, uh, aggressive burn. It's more something to kind of like slowly over the years dwindle down the supply in a healthy way, and that's why 50% of it was burned manually by us, 50% immediately at the time of launch, like before we even went live, and the other 5% was burned passively over the year and a half, year and 3 months that we've been active.
Okay, so you guys are doing the manual burn. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because typically, most burns have an auto burn feature in the contract, but you guys are doing it manually, which is fine. And when are the outfits coming out?
So on the 30th of this month, we have a public mint for our EFT crates, which will reveal into different ranked equipable items. And anybody can participate in that in the public mint. It's a free mint, by the way. You don't have to pay any type of money to or ETH or anything like that to mint. The only thing you're gonna have to pay is the gas fee, which obviously everything that happens on ETH incurs a gas fee. But you'll be more than welcome to go and grab one of our EFT crates on the 30th. And the thing is, it's like you can see it, you can play with them beforehand, you can unequip stuff to these NFTs and kind of like fall in love with your NFT in a way that you can't with any other project, because any other project you mint something and you just get a randomly generated JPEG that you're stuck with forever, and you can't customize the traits. Rather to when you have a option, you can make it look like how it could present and represent you as a person.
Gotcha. What are your guys' plans for Metaverse?
So we keep changing our plans for the Metaverse because it's just like, I feel like it's still a little bit too early, but we're pretty heavy into the other deeds, and I think that's where we're gonna be going into with our first steps into the metaverse. We don't want to build out our own metaverse per se. Um, Obviously, Yuga has a tremendous amount of backing and money, and I know that they're going to be building some of the craziest stuff out there as far as metaverse goes. But I still need to see it for my own eyes and see what happens in the metaverse before I can even be bullish on metaverse again. But as of right now, I mean, I feel like the metaverse is just a gimmick, bro. To be honest with you, until I can see it and interact with it with my own eyes in a way where I'm impressed. Right now, I'm not impressed.
Yeah. Well, the best scenario I can give you for Metaverse, because it's been out since the 90s, realistically, is get a Nintendo, buy a Nintendo Switch. They created the first ever Metaverse. If everybody wants to be technical about it, they created a community built, driven, interactive utility. And you're right. Like, I owned land. It was just stupid, dude. And and you're right. The art, the build out was just. I had Snoop like 2 blocks down my way on the same street. Right. I owned 4 blocks. I owned a 3x3
Oh my god,
section.
dude.
Yo, I sold it to an adult entertainment company last year, dude, because I was just like, what the fuck am I gonna build out? This shit's fucking 8-bit. This shit looks janky.
Yeah. Bro, all they did was they just made one of the biggest buzzwords of the year, and people bought into it. That's the thing is like, man, I don't even want to comment on
Bro,
that.
I got
It's just,
so many, bro. You have no idea. I've done over 3,000 AMAs, right? And through the years, I've gotten my wallets are cluttered with NFTs of metaverse properties that I own. And by far, my Bored Yacht Ape land is the best looking piece of property to date for just a JPEG. I'm not gonna lie to you, but will it go full fruition? With the game and all that, I don't know.
If anybody has a chance, it's them.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see Sandbox making it. I don't see anybody else making it big. If anybody has a chance, it's probably Yuga, and if not Yuga, then literally Facebook, because they just have all the money in the world to.
Well, you got to remember
trial and
Mark
error until they
Zuckerberg.
make something.
What do you think Aptos is for? How do you think Aptos came about? I mean, he put $100 million upfront capital for that for them boys, because they were his engineers. Right. So he's supposed to be building out the metaverse there. To me, I don't think Yugo right now, because they behind the scenes. You got to remember they had attachments to that boy that was in Merrill Lynch there in Manhattan.
Right.
For the insider trade. So we still don't know what the outcome is going to be on that, even though they still have a derivative or a fair market for those things. It's hard to tell what's going to happen there. You don't know if they're going to be brought up on insider trading or what.
No, for sure, man. I know there's some sketchy stuff out there, but back to your metaverse thing. I feel like the buzz is down from what it was last year. The hype is completely dwindled away. I think Sandbox had like 50 or 30 active users, which is mind blowing. I have more people in my DMs than Sandbox does on their whole platform. So, I mean, that doesn't mean we're straying away completely from the metaverse. If you look at our most recent tweet, our marketing team released something called Siberia, and Siberia is something that we're building out. I don't want to necessarily call it a metaverse, because that's not what it is.
Well, that's why I asked you, because I just read that. I read that on your guys' official. So
yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. So Siberia is still something that we haven't fully disclosed to the community what it is yet. It's more or less kind of like a classified project that we're working on, and it's going to play a big role in the Shibadoge ecosystem. But it's not necessarily going to be like, we're not going to be like, hey, we're Sandbox, hey, we're other deeds or anything like that. It's just something that the Shibadoge ecosystem is going to pretty much, like everything that we launch in the Shibadoge ecosystem, it stands as a backbone for everything else that's already there. And I think Siberia is going to be an essential tool to navigate through the ecosystem and bring everything together and kind of like, network it in a way where it's more easily accessible and easy for people to navigate through everything that we have in our ecosystem. Because we've accomplished a lot in this last year, but Rudes, we're barely getting started, man. And whatever our ecosystem is right now, I would say it's barely at 10% of what it's going to be in the future. And we do expect to see a lot of growth, and we do expect to see a lot of new people coming in and new things being introduced to our ecosystem.
Well, I look forward to seeing it. I'm actually going to buy a couple NFTs off of OpenSea. Just to let you know.
Nice, man. Thank you.
No, not a problem. I like the artwork. So, I mean, you answered my questions directly, and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Other than that, does anybody else have any other questions for him? I mean, I pretty much asked you everything I needed to know, Leo, and I appreciate you coming in. Like I said, I'm going to forward those links and those contacts to Miss JM or JH here, and let her get them to you.
Yeah, for sure. No worries. And I just followed you on Twitter with this profile. So if you ever need to DM me or anything like that, this is my main profile that I use for, not the Shibadoge main, but my own personal main. So
gotcha.
If you ever need anything.
Yeah, I just followed you back, bro.
Perfect, man. Thank you.
No, and I thank you for coming in, and I thank everybody else for coming in. If they don't have any other questions, thank you, the real Shibadoge, for coming in to RCL for an AMA today.
Thank you for having us, Rubes. This was great, and I hope to do it again soon.
You likewise, brother. Thank you.
Cool, man. Have a good one.
You too, bro.
Thank you, everybody, for coming in. Peace. Oh, Rubes, one more thing. This is how I sign off of all my AMAs, if you don't mind.
Go right ahead, bro.
All right. For everybody who knows, good. For not, if you you don't know, you're about to know. If you miss Doge, that sucks. If you miss Shiba, that also sucks. If you miss Shibadoge, then unfortunately you suck. And with that being said, Rudes, thank you for the host, brother. We appreciate it. Hope you have a great rest of your week, and everybody else have a good week as well. Be blessed, be happy, and join us in our chats if you ever need anywhere to hang out.
Yeah, we'll forward the links of my channels, two of your guys' channels.
Thank you, brother.
All
right, Rudes.
All right, guys. You guys have a good day.
You too, man. Peace.